So last Wednesday morning, former Alabama Crimson Tide head coach Nick Saban faced several United States senators asking for them to, quote, bring order to a system that badly needs fixing, unquote. While he did say that Congress does not need to micromanage college athletics, he did say that there needed to be a national framework so that people inside of college sports could enforce fair rules. His testimony was in support of the Protect College Sports Act, which, among other things, looks to limit athletes to transferring schools only one time without penalty, limit athlete eligibility to a maximum of 5 years, limit former professional athletes from playing in college, and prohibiting schools from poaching a coach from another school during their season. That has been referred to as the Lane Kiffin rule. Saban admits that the bill isn't perfect, and he is sure many adjustments need to be made, but he still supports it. But my question to you is, do you support it? What say the people's champ?
I mean, the last dude to be sitting up here talking about college football reform is Nick Saban. Like, sit your ass down somewhere and stick to doing college football games. Like, stop. Now, with anything, do there need to be improvements? Absolutely. But all of this uproar and hoopla, man, dude, give Reggie Bush his back pay on the jersey sales y'all still getting money off of, and Armani Toomer too. Stop. I don't want to hear none of these old rich bastards crying about crumbs that they can't get. This has only been a concern after Nick Saban and guys of the same ilk no longer had the pick of the litter when it came to the elite talent. You know, now if this was Kurt Signati spearheading this, then it would, then I would take it with a little more validity and seriousness.
Sure.
But coming from Nick Saban, it just sounds like a dude that's mad he got ran out of college football and he maybe want to get back in, but he can't unless they change the rules back to when he was running shit.
Yep. Well, I agree with just about all of that. So there are definitely some issues that could use some clarification within the landscape of college athletics. I think most reasonable people would agree on that.
For sure.
Do they require an act of Congress? I think is the question that I ask myself most urgently. I'm not sure, because the question that I ask myself when young people are involved is who's getting hurt? And more importantly, and specifically, are the young people getting hurt? So in this case, the answer is no, probably not. Not really. Are young people being hurt, being able to transfer an unlimited number of times without penalty? I don't think so. The question becomes, who does get hurt? Well, somebody like Nick Saban, who coached college football for 33 years and made $150 million. The system that he took advantage of held kids captive and penalized them essentially a year of eligibility if they wanted to transfer.
Preach on.
The system definitely benefits multi-billion dollar institutions
with a big B.
Definitely benefit. The new system has deviated from that. Are young people hurt by having more years of athletic eligibility in college? I don't think so. The question becomes, who does get hurt? Well, somebody like Nick Saban, who could hold you captive in his program, afraid to transfer because it would cost you a year of eligibility, and your eligibility years were already limited. Former professional athletes coming back to college, that's tricky for me because they just did disband the G League Ignite. Mm-hmm. And some of those guys that were playing there, they were extremely young. So who does it harm if they get an opportunity to go play for a college basketball program? Multi-billion dollar institutions, big money head coaches, and don't give me a less talented kid who they would play over anyway, because there are 361 NCAA basketball programs. There are plenty of roster spots for kids talented enough to play. I'm not interested in the Title IX conversation because I am the parent of a scholarship athlete that plays a non-revenue generating sport. I understand the nuances between what sports make money and what sports don't. And you know who else understands that? Nick Saban. He understood why he was making $7 million a year and the women's volleyball coach was making $250,000.
Preach on.
He wasn't marching in the athletic director's office or the university president's office demanding equity, insisting that his salary be split evenly among all of the head coaches in the athletic department. He didn't demand equity then. He wasn't worried about it. So let's discuss the elephant in the room, man, because we've been dancing around it.
Come on.
That's players getting paid.
Come on.
Are the undertones of this conversation really about players getting paid? Should there be parameters on how much money a player can make and where that money comes from? What say the people's champ?
Parameters. I think it's a good start.
Sure.
But it's tricky, man, because I'm hearing stories where like young kids are able to really help out their families with some of these NIL deals.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, it's tough. Because you don't want, because there'll always be one or two that will do the wrong thing with it. And that's what gets propagated, you know.
Sure.
So, but man, you know, I'm all for the kids getting paid, of course.
Yeah, no doubt.
Should you cap it? I mean, sure. I mean, there's a cap in professional sports.
Yeah.
To a degree, you know. So, I mean, yeah, I think there should be a cap, but I don't know where it starts. I think that's like where the conversation begins. You know, that's where the real conversation is like, what's the baseline and what's the ceiling? You know what I mean? Because it's some serious lettuce being thrown around.
Yeah, listen, man, I agree with you. I think parameters are healthy with anything. I don't necessarily know that you should cap the amount of money. I think that it's healthy to know where the money is coming from.
Right.
You don't want it coming from untoward places.
Right.
You know, you don't want ethics to become an issue. But let me also say this. I never heard Nick Saban say the word budget when he was the highest paid coach in the country.
Unless they were washing money through a rental lot.
I never heard him worried about how much athletic programs were spending when it was time for him to negotiate his new contract. I never heard him raise an eyebrow when Oregon, Michigan, his school, Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, LSU, and countless others were spending hundreds of millions of dollars on stadium and facility upgrades.
Yep. It only started till teams started using the portal and kicking his ass.
Now that the players are getting paid, it's, quote, pay for play schemes, unquote. What?
No.
Yes, the players should be entitled to some of the money that they generate for the university. Why is that a hard concept for someone who walked into multiple athletic departments with his agent, Jimmy Sexton, to negotiate multiple very large contracts? Now, all of a sudden, $1 million on a wide receiver who's going to be a first-round draft pick is cause for a public hearing.
Control.
When coaches' salaries started skyrocketing, nobody thought it was a catastrophe. There were no calls to get college sports under control. Alabama just built a football operations center that cost $300 million. And Nick Saban comfortably sat in a chair in a public hearing and said that young men getting a portion of the proceeds they generate from colleges and universities is tantamount to a Ferrari speeding toward the Grand Canyon. He said that he's fine with NIL deals. In other words, as long as someone else is giving the kids the money, like food and beverage companies or an athletic brand, but the university handing over money to these athletes risking life and limb on football fields is a pay-for-play scheme.
That's ridiculous. And
That's how they describe bid rigging in public finance hearings.
And they'll make money off that kid when their kid is old enough to go to college.
Exactly. In other words, he characterized this as criminality. And he believes as an act of Congress should go forward to get it under control. So let me ask the People's Champ, because I think my tone is probably already giving you an indication about how I feel, but is Nick Saban the right spokesperson for this issue, and does his concern seem genuine?
I mean, Nick Saban can go sit on a cat and get out. We've went through, like, it's so disingenuous. And again, who is he gaslighting?
Right. I mean,
like,
really,
this is all about control. He's lost control, and the good old boy network has lost control.
Yeah.
And the toothpaste is out of the tube, and you can't put it back in.
Yeah.
And I guess he feels that the only way that something can be done is if he goes to Congress, because, you know, all the bitching that he could do at the NCAA, they're just looking at him like, you? Right. Are you serious? Like, beat it, dude. Like, and all the guys crying are all, you know, Saban and his disciples. All of them.
Yep.
All of them. And, you know, good for them.
Right.
I hope it runs all of them out of college football. And maybe we can get some younger coaches that actually wants to run some new style offenses and can, you know, let them be the ones that kind of curate this new NCAA structure going forward.
Yeah.
Because I think that they're more player oriented.
Sure.
And student athlete oriented.
Absolutely.
Than a lot of these old guys that have been coaching now, you know, north of 50 years. They only know one way.
Exactly.
And I mean, you can look at it in college sports. You can look at it in politics. We've got like an old people problem.
Right.
You know, like, God bless them, but it's just like,
I think you nailed it.
Like, you know, like you can still make your money, but just go do it over there.
Right.
And let the daily operations be handled by people who have the energy, know-how, and are up to speed with how the daily operations should go.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I agree. He has no ability. Nick Saban has zero ability to look at this situation objectively, because he had too much success under the old system. He had too much professional success and too much personal success. In other words, he did too much winning and made too much money. Yep. And I mean, listen, I can't begrudge him, and I don't begrudge him for making a lot of money. He was a great college football coach. He did his job. He did what he was supposed to do. But there would be no way to convince him that system wasn't better for everyone, because it was certainly better for him.
Right. The guy who's alleging that maximizing opportunities are bitching at kids doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. I flatly question his sincerity with respect to this issue, though. And I'm not going to pretend that I know Nick Saban. I'm certainly not going to pretend to know what somebody is thinking.
Right.
But he never struck me as someone who was just enamored with young people. Yeah. And I know he coached, college football for a long time. His relationship with the players seemed fine, but I never heard anyone say anything particularly bad about him. But I never heard anybody waxing poetic about their relationship with him either. I'm not going to pretend to be dialed into Alabama football, but that's just my impression. You know, he's an all-time great coach, but he had a little bit of a Bill Belichick type feel to him. A little matter of factness, you know, in his approach to the guys. The antithesis of Dan Campbell, who seems like he's everybody's best friend.
We definitely bent your school over back then. Tell you that.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, me and my dad was just talking about that too. My feeling is that there have to be some kind of ulterior motives, like you said, because the way college football, and by the way, college football as a product is so much better under the new system.
Right. Like, can we talk about that? Like, this new system is sweet.
Indiana just won the national championship for the first time since any of us have been alive. And they beat Miami, who has returned to respectability.
Right.
For the first time in decades. The field is wide open for more than 3 teams.
Yep.
There are more than 3 teams with a legitimate chance to win the national championship.
And what we're expanding to, what, a 16-team
This
playoff?
is what I'm saying. We finally getting a playoff like we wanted. This is what the new system has rendered. Players are getting paid real money. This is a good thing. The players are winning. The players are staying in college longer. That is how you manufacture that. You get guys to stay longer by paying them, and then they're happier. That's why you stayed so long, because you was getting paid. See how that works? When you get paid, you're happier and you stay longer. That's what we want for great college football players. Most of these guys are never going to get a chance to play at the professional level. This is their chance to make life-changing money now. That does not need to be obstructed. They're not being hurt. Who's getting hurt? Guys like Nick Saban are getting hurt. You know how we know? Because they the only ones complaining.
Yep.
I don't see student athletes
and
complaining.
Dabo.
Yeah. I don't see student athletes sitting in front of a congressional hearing, whining about how things went. And you've made a fortune. You want to be the only one getting the fortune.
Yep.
Now the kids are making a fortune, and you like, hey, something got to be out of whack, because eventually this might end up impacting my fortune.
Yep. It started when Prime got Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
That's when he started making us think about it.
So speaking of college football and things that need to be fixed, though, let's talk about this Brendan Sorsby thing before we transition. He was previously ruled ineligible by the NCAA after it was discovered that he wagered approximately $90,000 on college and professional sports over a 4-year period, including 40 bets involving Indiana football when he was a freshman in 2022. The NCAA denied Texas Tech's appeal for reinstatement on Friday. However, a Texas judge granted Sorsby a preliminary injunction Monday that prevents the NCAA from punishing him for violating its rules on sports gambling. Judge Ken Curry ruled that Sorsby will suffer, quote, imminent and irreparable injury, unquote, if he is unable to play for the Red Raiders in 2026. That injunction also prevents the NCAA from prohibiting Sorsby from practicing or playing this fall. The NCAA has filed an appeal in Lubbock, which was accepted, and it is on the docket for February of 2027. In case you're counting, that is after the conclusion of the college football season. So it seems that Sorsby has won the day for now. Currently, it appears Texas Tech is standing behind him, though he will face a 2-game suspension for the first 2 games. So let me ask the people's champ, should Texas Tech cut ties with Sorsby or allow him to play since he won his court case?
I mean, you didn't win through all this with him. You might as well. I mean, at this point, good God. He's gone through all of this. And, I mean, I hope it's worth it because, I mean, this has got to be the peak for Sorsby.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you do anything football related after this, man. Like, you are, like, untouchably hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, dude, like, you look at what's going on with, the NBA right now, and this, like, every day it's a new discovery about what Terry Rozier had going on. And
right.
I was just reading the other day that the investigation on Malik Beasley is still open, and NBA teams can't talk to him.
Yeah, I know.
Pistons still hold his right. I mean, it's just, so there's that aspect. I mean, not to his credit, I hear he's went to rehab for it. And
right, yes, he has.
Was it 45 days, I believe, treatment or 90-day treatment with a good on him. But that being said, though, the NFL, a pretty unforgiving
I mean,
entity.
Yeah. But go ahead.
But
man.
it's like, it's it's gonna be tough, man.
Yeah.
But at this point, Texas Tech, I mean, you've been in bed with them this far.
Right.
And I mean, it looks like you've got the clearance, because I don't foresee any appeal expediting, a reversal.
Right. Yep.
So
Yep. I agree. This one was a tough one for me, but I am compelled to ask the same question as I always ask. I mean, who was hurt? I mean, he's a young guy that did something stupid and he got caught, but
and
sometimes the punishment don't fit the crime. I mean, is he a compulsive gambler? Does he have a problem? Did rehab mitigate his issues? I mean, I don't have the answer to any of those questions. But what I do know is that from a very broad perspective, I mean, this was pretty much a victimless crime. I mean, he didn't steal from anybody. It was his own money. The details are embarrassing. Betting on Indiana football in 2022 and per pitch at the Reds. I mean, my God. But it's entirely possible that he did learn his lesson. I mean, with respect to the other teams boycotting and refusing to play Texas Tech, respectfully, stop the nonsense. There's way too much money at stake. Tickets have already been sold. Television contracts have already been negotiated, and wins and losses are too precious in college football. Listen, I don't know, man. I feel like I should be more passionate about it, but
I mean, that's just kind of where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean, the NCAA, there have been guys that have done much worse things.
Yes,
that have played on college football fields. Let me just say that. And, there's no need to revisit those misgivings presently, but we all know what's what.
Right.
Let's just say that. Some of our favorite teams have passed on guys. Our favorite NFL teams have passed on guys in the first round, because of what they did in college.
Right.
That was against the law. So, he didn't break the law. He broke a rule, NCAA rule. He's going to serve a 2-game suspension. And if they, I didn't feel bad for him when they ruled him ineligible. Like if they reverse the rule on his eligibility, I won't feel bad for him if he don't get to play. I don't feel bad that he's getting to play. I think I'm okay with it, and I think I would have been okay with it the other way. What you got, nephew?
He shouldn't be playing. Point blank simple. I'm sorry. He should not be playing. You basically, at this point right now, you're basically saying by the letter of the law, like because of this injunction, you're basically saying it's okay to bet on yourself and play sports, no matter the result. Yeah. That's what you're pretty much saying at this point. So anybody who had, Jonte Porter at this point, because you're saying the NCAA cannot discipline somebody for betting on themselves or betting on a competition that they were in. So things like, if I'm Jonte Porter, I need to get an injunction. I should be able to play basketball in the NBA. If I'm Terry Rozier, I shouldn't be sitting out right now because it's just been said in the court that I should have a right to see how this case goes out and see how it goes, and I should be able to play. Like at the end of the day, like this is crazy to me. Like that you're basically saying that. I know we don't typically agree with the NCAA, but at some point they need to be able to enforce their rules. And something as simple as, you cannot bet on your competition. That's bad because that's an ethics problem at the end of the day. Like,
I don't disagree. But the difference is that Jonte Porter and Terry Rozier play in a professional sports league that has a collectively bargained agreement, and they are members of the union. That is not the same thing as the NCAA. So, yet, while I agree with you, the NBA and those specific teams have the right to cancel their contracts. And Texas Tech is a different entity than the NCAA. So I agree that it is an ethical problem if he was wagering on games and if he got caught wagering on games. But I think that what the judge is saying is that this was victimless in this particular situation. It's not the same as playing in a professional sports league. And also, I'm not sure about.
It was also victimless when it was running rapid in the Big East in the 80s.
Yeah, You mean when they was point shaving?
Yeah.
No, that's not victimless because they was point shaving. And I'm not sure if he did this at Texas Tech either. You know what I'm saying?
He hasn't played at Texas Tech yet. I think that's neither here nor there. I think the problem is you're opening the door to a slippery slope that can
I
lead
don't disagree.
that lead to people.
I mean,
because
that once they start making sports betting legal,
right. But this is my thing. Like at this point, like now with NIL, you have the door is open for anybody to say, "Hey, take this NIL deal. I need you to blow this game, and we're gonna take care of you."
Yeah, listen. Again, that's not completely incorrect. I do agree that it's an ethical problem, but I think his situation is different because of when it happened, and I think that the NCAA as an entity is not the same as a professional sports league where you're in the union and you have a collectively bargained contract where those rules say, hey, you do this and your contract is canceled. Again, I do think it's an ethical problem.
Yeah, I mean, like ethical problems are legal. Like Terry Rozier broke the law.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, Terry Rozier, he did something. Like, what he did, like he was telling other people to bet on the game.
He broke the law.
He done did. They and Jonte Porter, they was doing something totally different.
They were bookies for themselves.
Yeah, they was basically, they was manipulating the outcome of the game. As far as we know, he didn't do that. All he did was place wagers on the game. Again, I agree with you. It's still an ethical issue.
All are bad.
It's still an ethical question and an ethical issue. We're not disagreeing on that. It's a weird gray area. But I think that what the judge said in the injunction is that more harm would be done to him than harm is done to the NCAA if he plays. I think that, that is that was the legal question anyway. Whether or not, it's the right thing or the wrong thing or, I'm not necessarily saying it's right or wrong. I just, he's going to be punished with the 2-game suspension. And, should he be banned forever and ruled ineligible, I think is the question. When was the last time he placed a bet? What was the nature of the bet? How did it impact the outcome of the game? I don't know that information is available, or did he manipulate the outcome of a game? I don't know that he did any of that. And I don't know if that isn't available. I don't know if he's still betting, or whether or not he went to rehab and tried to, get himself fixed up. Again, like all of that, those are all questions that we don't necessarily have the answers to. But again, I mean, I just think that this was sort of a victimless crime. He was placing a lot of dumb wagers and doing a lot of dumb stuff with a online sports betting app. And, he won the injunction. Again, I wouldn't have felt bad if he didn't get to play, but I'm also not up in arms that he does.
Right.
That's just my perspective. But I see where you're coming from. I don't think that you necessarily in the wrong if you feel like he shouldn't play. I don't think anybody's wrong if they think that. I just don't have strong feelings that he shouldn't play. I don't necessarily think that what he did was so egregious, but I just don't have strong feelings because I don't think he was manipulating outcomes of games, or at least that hasn't been proven. Let me say that. I don't think that it's proven that he was manipulating outcomes of games. And that's exactly what Terry Rozier and Jonte Porter were doing, by the way.